What does love have to do with living a creative life?
That's not a good thing.
It's stressful, right? When I needed to vent privately to my partner about things and why they mattered to me, it would take me so long just to explain why it mattered.
And probably you will never understand.
And the pat on the back, like the, it's okay, baby.
You're like,
You don't really mean that because you have no idea really what I'm talking about. So let's just go to dinner. Yeah. Hi, welcome to Aren't You Crazy, the podcast that flips the script on the struggling artist paradigm.
we are your hosts, Tessie
And Erin Elizabeth Reed.
Erin is wearing some lovely pink.
Thank you. I'm blushing. And Tessie's wearing some elegant white.
Like Dove. Guys, we're talking about
Love, people. Lovey love. Romance, you might say.
Love is in the air. Everywhere I look around.
The birds are tweeting. Everyone's getting Twitter-pated. Oh, that's really good. I can't whistle.
No?
No.
Oh.
Here, I'm going to try for you now. Okay, don't laugh. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try again.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Yeah. There was some harmonics in there.
I can make the sound. I can make the sound of tornadoes on the horizon.
I was thinking about whale song.
Whales.
Can you help me? On that note.
And we have officially chased away all of our romantic partners. No. So what does love have to do with living a creative life? Well, we thought it's really important to talk about having a supportive partner when you're living a creative life.
Mm-hmm.
Like the importance of somebody who supports what you do.
Yep. Love and the arts.
Love in the arts, baby.
Yep.
I have had partners throughout my life that were not in a creative field at all. I've had partners who were in a creative field, but not the same one that I'm in. And I've had those that were in the exact same field doing the exact same job.
Ooh, this
as
is
I
so juicy. I want to know everything.
Well, not everything, baby.
Well,
But
let's keep things to the imagination.
shall we? They each had their own pluses and minuses, pros and cons. And I'm just curious, what categories your romantic partners in your life had fallen into?
Yeah, so I've had partners outside of the creative spectrum, and then I had on other artistic professions and on the same field.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh, that one I didn't know about.
That's not a good thing.
It's stressful, right?
That's really stressful.
At first, I went into this particular relationship thinking this is going to be great because we understand each other. We know exactly what the other one is going through. We can talk about things. We can bond. And then this weird competitiveness thing crept in.
Yeah, it settles. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we're not actually competing. Like there was no way I was going to get the roles,
Yeah.
he would have been given and vice versa.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Like, I know a couple that they're together and they're both actors and they're very successful.
Mhm.
And, there are some big examples like Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem that are happy together and are successful and everything. But it requires, I feel, a level of be happy with your partner's growth and progress in their own path
Yeah.
and vice versa. And that I'm what?
For me, one of the ways that the competition or jealousy could come up was, when one of us would book a role or get a project, there was just like feeling like left behind or left out,
Mm.
or even a weird codependence would develop like, oh, well, if you got a project, I know you're going to talk to the director and help me get involved somehow, right?
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
It could become really unhealthy in that way.
Yeah. I mean, a very toxic way. I mean, you can definitely share your insights about the job and like what you're learning and everything. But if every time you share something, the person feels threatened because you're growing and you're learning,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a hard process to go through, right? How about your relationships that weren't related to the same field? How was that?
Oh, where they were still a creative person, but they were in a different field.
Now let's start with the completely different field, not in the arts.
On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where they were not in a creative world's profession at all.
Correct.
That also presented challenges. So the pros of that relationship, there's one in particular I can think of, was that they were so divorced from the creative sphere that it was like a safe place to mentally rest. Like being pulled out of a bubble, you know, when the creative work life becomes all you know, the sphere that you live in, you can kind of forget that other people don't live there and have no idea what you're talking about, nor do they care, nor is it life and death.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it was like, oh, yeah, I can calm down about things that I'm stressed about. I can put them into perspective. But the negatives for me were that they couldn't relate. It was like the flip side of that coin. They couldn't relate.
Yeah.
So when I needed to vent privately to my partner about things and why they mattered to me, it would take me so long just to explain why it mattered before I could even talk about the what, how it was making me feel, that it just became pointless. It's like I exhausted myself just trying to get somebody up to speed.
Yeah.
And so it was
Let me give you first 50 minutes of context, and then let me tell you how I feel.
Right.
And probably you will never understand.
And and when you give me the, you know, like the pat on the back, you know, like the it's okay, baby.
You're like,
you don't really mean that because you have no idea really what I'm talking about. So let's just go to dinner. Yeah. So
yeah, I understand that so well. For me, it was interesting because there were other topics that I could talk about. I would be able to have conversations outside of the creative realm, which honestly, today I find it even less and less enjoyable to be around a group of actors that only talk about acting and can't talk about anything else.
Yeah. It's that bubble.
Exhausting. Like honestly. And I'm an actor and I love acting, but it's like, can we talk about something else?
You do have a whole life, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a whole person, right?
Absolutely.
No, that's a great point, actually. It's keeping your mind open and expansive to other things, like becoming well-rounded in the topics that you can converse about. And
like diversifying and learning more about finance or economy or like world conflict or stuff like that. And also like do other things.
But even those experiences that we might think of as not creative or artistically directly related, I find that they actually feed my inner creative life so well. They're like a breath of fresh air. They like spark something new because now I have new experiences to draw from when I am storytelling. Because our topic is about supportive partners.
Yes.
And I did find, despite the pros, it was harder to have the emotional support of someone who wasn't creatively involved themselves for what I did.
Yeah.
I ultimately felt I was maybe patronized a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Like there was maybe a lack of empathy.
Yeah. And a lack of empathy, a lack of respect for what I did. Like what I was doing was not a real job or not really contributing to society.
100%.
It was just
Yeah.
something cute that they put up with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that ultimately also, it wore down my sense of excitement about the relationship.
Absolutely. Well, you don't feel like you're valued and that what you do is important, even if you're not like famous or whatever.
Yeah.
What you do is important for you, and it should be important for the person that wants to share the road with you as much as you give importance to what they do.
Yeah.
It's just a giving and receiving simple equation. But
you make me better, I make you better. That's the goal.
Yeah.
At least for me, that's how I look
Yeah.
at it. Like I'm looking to collaborate. I want a collaborative life. This phrase came to me the other night. I was just journaling and I was like, something about, oh, it's really a collaborative process, making art. It's like, I want a collaborative life
yeah,
in all aspects, including my romantic life.
absolutely. You're your own person and the other person is their own person, but you share a common road.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be the same person.
Yeah.
But you do have to offer the basics of respect, understanding, saying, wow, admiration in a way, like
Gratitude,
gratitude.
appreciation.
Yeah.
You each bring something unique to the table and together you make something even better.
Yes, that's beautiful. And now that you mentioned that, it's like in my own experience, because what I encountered most, the lack of understanding of the hours and the commitment to the craft, it was always like, you can't come on the weekends? No, I have a show. Oh, what are you doing Saturday night? I have a show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So you can not do it, not for the next 6 weeks, no.
Yeah.
And they couldn't understand that. They couldn't understand the
Right.
commitment to a show or to rehearsals or to the schedules of rehearsals. So that whenever everybody else is free, we're often rehearsing
Right.
or we're often doing a show.
Working.
Because when other jobs are free is when they go seek for entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's where we chime in.
Right.
So it's like we live almost in parallel universes, almost like when you have like these jobs that somebody works at night and the other one works in the morning and you have to sleep in between and you never see each other.
Yeah.
Kind of like in that realm.
Yeah.
And that I remember that caused me a lot of problems with my family because often I couldn't be in my grandfather's birthday, or I would arrive very late, or I would not come to this party or the other party because I was doing a show. And because as much as I love everybody else, like my allegiance was with that show because it's part of my expression of my essence as a living human being in my perspective.
Yeah.
So it's not that I was selfish. It was just that it was the only way of doing my craft, which wasn't really understanding. And there was a lot of jealousy and like patronizing things about like, no, you're probably being unfaithful, being with other person. You're telling me you're rehearsing, but you're not. And I'm like, oh God, get a grip. If there's not going to be any trust and you're going to think that every time I rehearse, I'm with someone else,
that will
we're
never
done.
work.
We're done.
Regardless of what else the other person is doing with their life. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I mean, it taught me about other things.
Yeah. So the third category, we'll call it creative field adjacent. I'm not saying it's the best, but I find it the most compatible.
Yeah.
For me. I get the best of both worlds of the other two sides. And maybe that's just because I'm a Libra and I like balance. But they're creative, so we have a creative spirit in common. We can empathize with one another and bond over that. But we still, because we're not in the exact same field, we still teach each other new things. We learn from each other, and I get a sneak peek into somebody else's creative process in life. So for me, it's kind of been the best of both worlds, and that's what I've been happiest with.
I think so too. I think I'm in the same boat as you. And learning another skill that fascinates me. Yeah. Entering another person's world. It has happened with my partner, and I go to his meetings with his group of creatives and they talk about a certain program or a certain device or something. And I'm like, oh, I know that. don't know how to use it.
But I've heard of it.
I don't live in the Matrix, but I've heard of it. Therefore, I'm special, you know? Yeah, you can create a dinosaur with Alt Q plus 57. Third, tumble, 1, 2, 3. Shift, Alt, delete. You're like,
Great.
what a beautiful dinosaur.
Can you make it wear a party hat?
Yes, dial, and the Matrix starts like, you know, you see the Matrix. Blue pill or the red pill. Also not cutting your wings, you know, like letting you fly and soar as wide and as you want.
Yeah.
And saying, yeah, I just want you to be completely fulfilled. Like I don't wither with your growing supernova light existence. And if I decided to like all of a sudden become a florist, I think that he would be very supportive of that journey, of that transformation without judgment, which I found extremely refreshing and confronting at the same time.
Talk about the confrontation.
Because I come from a world of confrontation, specifically for choosing the arts as a profession with me growing up. So
you mean from your family of origin?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of like resistance to that. And so I feel like I grew up defending myself constantly about and defending my thoughts and defending my ideas and my point of view, always being like in the defensive mode, attacking, all of that. So I have had to accept that I don't have to fight. That in this relationship, I can be who I am, and I can be someone different tomorrow and someone different in 10 years. And there will be a conversation and an adjustment about that evolution and that change. But there can be an open conversation about that change. And there's nothing like, I mean, of course we fight and we have our problems for sure. Like nobody's perfect, but the fact that I can say, I feel like I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago. And he's like, that's okay. I think I'm not the same person 5 years ago. So what do you need now? And what do I need now? Can we put that on the table? Can we compromise? Yes, no, okay, well, how can we work on this? Okay, great. So that has been like a interesting experience that I never had. It doesn't have to be your opinion or mine. And I grew up with that. It was always absolutes, black and white. If it's not my opinion, it's yours. It can be nothing in between. And it was mostly about imposition and a little bit of violence and aggression instead of receiving and embracing. So it is confronting in learning how to receive.
Yes. Yeah, that is confronting.
In not feeling that it's a lie or that it's
okay
like,
to receive. Yeah. Like I don't deserve to receive this kind of support.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have felt unsure of your identity. Like if I have to lay down the defensiveness, then who am I? Has that ever come up for you?
I have tamed some of my fire.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a good way. It has given me that power of saying it doesn't matter if I do it wrong. Because before, I think perfectionism just blocked me out. And I said, well, I'm going to get criticized anyway, so what's the point of doing it? And now it's like, let's do this podcast, even if, you know, whatever, maybe not everything is ready. Who cares? Let's just talk about it. But I still need to find a balance between receiving and being zen and like completely eliminating the fire that drove me before, because that fire was like a warrior fire of like, I'm gonna fight for this to the bone. And sometimes I feel like I'm just saying, okay, if it happens, okay, if it comes. And I'm like, no. In the back of my brain, it's like, okay, if it happens, it has to happen.
It must happen.
It must happen.
So like the difference between just having a bonfire lit that's wild, untamed, could spread, could cause harm, and a furnace with a long flue. So you're keeping the fires fed, but the heat is being directed to drive an engine forward for a very specific purpose.
Oh. I like that metaphor.
Yeah, you're not killing your fire. You're just channeling it with focus.
I think so. I think that you nailed it. Nailed it. Where is the cake?
The cake.
Let me cut it. Oh, it wasn't the cake.
Cake? That one is no. Give me all the feels. All the feels. So much love. I guess I'll end there.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye. Kisses,
Bye.
everybody. Mwah.
Bye.